Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John, this is Betty, a true nerd, and welcome to Lucifer Within Us, a game about a time-travelling supernatural detective. That's got you interested. It's only my first day, but I'm moderately confident that person in there is dead. So that is the victim. Identifying the victim, first step to solving the crime. So, we're already like halfway there. So, how do we solve a crime? Well, in a rather interesting way, because we have to construct a literal timeline of events. So right now, we know nothing aside from the identity of the person who was murdered, because that's who I've been called in to help out. So, Mother Miriam, newly appointed voice of Ein Sof, who is scheduled to receive an ether coronet implant at the workshop, and yeah, I'm guessing didn't work out for her. So somebody basically murdered her during her coronation or whatever. So yeah, she was supposed to take over the abbey, somebody didn't want her to. So yeah, people who don't agree with her teachings, her take, her whatever, they're the most likely candidates. So we've got ourselves two right here. The two folks who work in this room, they're not allowed to leave, because yeah, Virgil the investigator has called me in to sort this nonsense out. So, okay, probably best we start with, the corpse. So yes, examine the body please. So we just head in there, have a look-see. So, the mother's body, a valuable piece of physical evidence, absolutely. So now I've got myself a brand new evidence panel, lovely. So the body itself is unharmed, but the head exploded. You know what? I could have spotted that just by looking at it, but okay. As for the coronet itself, parts of the amplifier component and bits of the casing have survived the explosion, so not completely destroyed. Probably nothing much we can do there, but the door button. Yes, did she by any chance try and, get herself out of the room when it was going wrong? So the door button opens and closes the chamber. It can only be operated from outside the chamber. So it was opened twice this morning. Yeah, logically, she had to step in. Like, she had to push the button to get herself inside. If the door was sealed, somebody pushed it to seal her in. Though we don't know whether the door has to be closed for the machine to do its work. That does strike me as likely. Though, that's just a supposition. Check the control panel, that's the most logical thing next. This is where we might find some evidence potentially. So, used to activate to control the consecration chamber. Usage records show that the ether output during the ceremony was well beyond safe ranges. So, okay, that pretty much confirms that this was intentional. Anyone controlling this thing should have noticed that the ether was too high, and thus our head was about to go pop. Right, check around over here. So, coronet limiter. So, aha. Was this uninstalled by any chance? So, component is needed to safely install the coronet without causing an ether oversurge, which is precisely what happened. And we found this on Gideon's workspace. Now, it could have been planted, we don't know, but Gideon, me and you need to have a chat about that. Let's have a look see at his PC as well. Aha, and now we actually know what the ceremony is supposed to look like. So, place the coronet and the recipient in the chamber. Performer and recipient pray in silence. Begin the song to start modulating the ether. Intensify output by bringing the performance to a crescendo. Aha, wait. Okay, just because this is here doesn't mean he did it. Obviously, if you wanted to frame somebody, you remove this piece, don't know whether it's actually on show, then you put it over here. And then potentially, even if, this guy's the one that actually does it, yeah, at that point, he wasn't responsible because he didn't take the part out. So Gideon's workstation, if you're Gideon, me and you, yeah, we need to have a chat about that limiter.
This is madness! I will not suffer this injustice! I am Gideon the Grand, the greatest cybernetician of our generation. I am blessed. I don't know what went wrong this morning. My hands are guided by the divine.
Yeah, you might have been set up, friend, but let's get a proper timeline going on here. So Mother Miriam was my patron. She loved me like a son. So, okay, if this guy was like, the favoured brother, then potentially it doesn't work in his favour if she dies. He actually benefits by her staying alive. Okay, let's get a timeline here. Alright, we're going to get exactly what he says happened.
Mother Miriam came to me for her consecration ceremony. I've performed this many times before, so I was confident.
Aha, and he can only see what he actually saw. He can't see behind him. Makes perfect sense. So, okay, that's all absolutely a-okay so far. They have a nice chat.
To prepare for the ceremony, I ordered Reuben to take Mother Miriam to the consecration chamber.
Alright, so he was the one that actually put her inside. Now, does that mean he pushes the button? We don't know, but hang on, Ada's got something to say here, so let's re-examine what he said about Miriam's arrival. So yeah, now I can just move the timeline around as much as I want to. And yeah, the thing to notice is he hasn't mentioned Reuben is present, but that might just be he was out of his line of sight. The desk. There's nothing on the desk at this point. So we might need to try and figure out when, you know, the limiter was placed on the desk. And we can also ask Reuben to corroborate this and maybe start finding some contradictions. Aha! So he's making adjustments right now, and we can do this as fast or as slow as we want. We can go backwards and forwards and check all of his testimony. So he goes over here, makes some changes, and aha! That's the spot where the limiter is. But, well, of course, he wouldn't mention the limiter being taken out. But if this is the moment the limiter was removed, it's the most logical moment we've got so far. And yes, as we've mentioned, he walks over and he puts it on her head. Now, the door was opened at that point, but we know the door was opened twice. He, at that point, walks out, pushes the button, seals the door, and then he starts doing the actual process.
We began by closing our eyes and praying together to Ein Sof. I thought I heard the chamber open, but didn't think much of it.
Okay, that should probably be important, and crucially, this is the moment where he closes his eyes. So, what we're seeing right now, we don't know what that really means. That could potentially be a problem. Okay, definitely want to ask after, you know, the whole closed eyes business here. So, you heard the door open again. How certain were you about that? Perhaps I think I also heard footsteps. So, it's a faint, vague memory, not to mention it's impossible. After all, Mother Miriam can't open the door from within. That's true, and presumably if Reuben had opened the door and gone up to Mother Miriam, she would have heard him, and like, you know, said something. And yeah, here's the big one. While you were adjusting the coronet, yeah, the limiter. So I modified the amplifier to its maximum setting. To do that I had to temporarily remove the limiter. Okay, but did you actually, aha, you say you replaced it. Well, that doesn't seem right at all. Because the coronet limiter is right here. So, do you recognise this component? It was found at your workstation. It's the limiter, impossible, but the explosion, how can it be undamaged? Someone must have removed it from the coronet prior to the ceremony, and you're the most likely candidate, because, hang on, can we actually check the timeline here? According to him, yes, he picks it up, he takes it to the desk. At which point, he fiddles with it, claims he put the limiter back in, walks it over, puts it straight on her head, walks back out, then closes the door. No one could have snuck in during this window, so no one's in right now, and yeah, he can see it right here. The only period it could have been removed after that point is, yeah, when he's got his eyes closed, but would Mother Miriam really not have, you know, been aware of somebody sneaking in at that point? Because we definitely know it was present here, well, according to his testimony, if we can take it for the truth. Because, yeah, he says he put it back in. So, okay. At what point was the limiter re-removed? And is there maybe another tweak here? Like, say, Mother Miriam is deaf or something like that. Right, over to the ceremony anyway.
Then I activated the consecration chamber and began the ceremony itself. The aether output was within safe ranges.
It was at that point, yes, but... Oh. Okay, hang on. Why is Reuben there all of a sudden? What's he doing? And at the very end... Yes, indeed. Great big head explosion, which we can actually just see over and over again. Lovely. Okay, we've got a timeline, we've got Gideon in our list of people, we've got a whole bunch of evidence. So time to move over to Reuben. And now, we're looking for contradictions.
Mother Miriam died because Gideon deliberately flouted the ceremonial guidelines for his own glory.
Aha. He did say he put the power up to maximum to, like, you know, make the ceremony better or her more ethery, which is presumably good in this weird cyberpunk, vaguely Dishonored 2-esque church, so, okay. It might have been an accident caused by, yeah, Gideon's pride. And more importantly, if two events agree, they're automatically verified on the timeline because two people, agree that was what happened. So, okay, what have we got here? Begin the testimony.
Mother Miriam came to us to receive a consecration ceremony, but she wanted something extravagant. Gideon suggested setting the coronet to have maximum ether output. I warned him that doing so is highly dangerous.
Okay, hang on here. So, that's inconsistent with what Gideon said. He said he was alone. I mean, potentially, if Reuben was behind him, he didn't see it, so what we saw as Gideon was not wrong. At which point, you return to work. Now, here's the problem. He says he's just getting on with his work, but that means, according to him, during the entire prayer, he was just at his workstation. Oh. Hang the flip on. He says the door just opened.
When Gideon activated the consecration chamber, I immediately felt something was wrong. I begged Gideon to stop, but he didn't listen.
Okay, that's why you walked over to the console. You were telling him to stop. But then... yeah, there we go. So, she exploded. Got it. Okay, let's start piecing together the problems here. Problem number one is, yes, he said that everything was, at a safe range, but we know that it wasn't because we've examined the console. So contradict using console. And a lie has been unmasked. Okay, the ceremony wasn't safe because I have hard evidence that proves otherwise. This isn't a case of, two people disagreeing. This is a case of the physical evidence does not support your story. But of course he has an excuse for that. While technically they were high, he says it was safe, that's what she wanted, it was still fine. And as we start putting things together, we can start learning about him. So okay, let's start putting together a psychological profile. And yes indeed, narcissism, that kind of stacks up with what we've got here. Bear in mind, this isn't a person doing a crime, it's a person that's been possessed. I'm technically an exorcist, as well as a time-travelling detective. So... okay, let's figure out which demon would be consistent with that. Here we go, Lucifer the Prowl. That seems pretty likely. So now we can start trying to unveil the truth. So we need means, opportunity, and motive. Well, opportunity, that's an easy one, yes. And now that we know you were trying to maintain control during dangerously high ether flow, the point where they could have been trouble was maintaining control. So, next up, the means. We're piecing this together here, assuming it was actually Gideon, because I still feel like he could have been framed here. And how did you kill her? Well, the coronet limiter was on your desk. So, you removed it, you didn't put it in. So as a result, that is valid, he will accept that. And yes, the motive ties to psychological profile, but the only one we've got for him is narcissism, but... she was already a fan of his, so his narcissism doesn't really have any reason for him to kill her. Like, it might have a reason whereby he accidentally killed her, but not murder. Right, let's get some more detail out of his new timeline. So, he says the ether was high, but let's ask him about that. So I'm unlocking new questions by getting more and more detail out of what's going on here. So, you've admitted the ceremony was risky, and what makes you so confident you maintained control, i.e. you weren't responsible? Because I'm a maestro, I remember every bit of my performance. Not really a great response, but whatever. Right, a few more bits and pieces. He says that he was alone when Mother Miriam arrived, so Reuben's testimony says no, not acceptable. So present that, and there we go. Another lie has now been unmasked. So Reuben says he was also there. Now, come to think of it, yes, he was standing there, scowling as usual, and yes, indeed, he was trying to stop you, but you didn't mention that. And here we go, we're now going to get ourselves a brand new version of events. Good, 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 good. So now the testimony lines up, and we have got, yes, everything has been verified and corroborated, so we are now in good shape. Right, leave that and go back over to Reuben, because he says he returned to work, and Gideon says he ordered him to do so. So Gideon ordered you to open the door for Mother Miriam, and ordered me. Is that what he told you? Despite his delusions, Gideon is certainly not my master. I did open the chamber, it's true. I apologise for the omission. So, Okay, he says that was a simple mistake, so let's get a new revised testimony so I can ask some more questions. Here we go, better. But now we've got a proper timeline, we can start digging into his psychological profile. So we've broken away a layer of his brain. He is a believer. Okay, so he's properly into this stuff. Gotcha. Okay, so let's get into the real meat and potatoes of this, which is, the prayer and the mysterious footsteps that must have been you. Here we go. Let's see if we can contradict him by bringing up that Gideon's testimony specifically mentions the chamber opening, which has to be from the outside, and you're the only other person in the room. Gideon thought he heard something. That doesn't mean anything. He could have imagined it. Okay, but like, the thing is, we know that the door controls were opened twice. And there we go. Bring the button up, and instead, you test my patience, your memory slipped once more. The door records show it was opened twice, and you're the only person who could have done it. It's true that I opened the chamber again just before the ceremony started, Reuben. You're being caught out in a few lies, my friend. Okay, so a new bit of testimony here. What have we got? So, we know he returns to work. That's all absolutely fine. But then, he steps over to the chamber during the prayer, which he only decides to do at the exact moment everyone's got their eyes closed, which is, you know, a bit suspicious. In fact, you know what? Let's just nip into his brain quickly. We're starting to learn about him here. There we go, breaking apart the shell. And we've found envy. So, yeah, he didn't necessarily want his brother to keep getting all of the glory. Now that's a motive. Right, let's just keep on the testimony though. The chamber. Let's check the new version of events.
So I opened the consecration chamber to verify that the coronet was in working order.
Alright, so he claims he does that. Opens door.
Everything seemed fine, so I returned to my desk again.
That's probably the moment when you pulled out the limiter, but if it was, did you have time to get it over to... Well, you didn't have to do it that moment. You could have popped the limiter on the desk later. Didn't need to be... Is that the limiter he's holding in his hands? Hang on. Looks to me like you've got something in your hand, my friend. So hang on, there's... Yep, there we go. He actively removed... We've seen it. Right, let's talk to you about that, you know, envy. Because if we go over to, yes, the demon bookie thing, there is specifically, Lotan the Envious, a big triangle demon who, makes people do bad things when they feel envy. Okay, we've got ourselves a good candidate here. I think I've got enough evidence to put together an accusation against Reuben here, so, okay. The opportunity. Sabotage, when could you have done it? When you were checking the chamber. So, yes, indeed, you went in while everybody had their eyes closed. So, that's when you sabotaged the ceremony. Means, yes, indeed, he was the one that operated the device. How could I have affected the chamber or Mother Miriam? By removing, the actual coronet limiter. The question is, can I actually, get those two things to line up? You removed the limiter from the coronet without Gideon's knowledge, which coupled with the coronet's high amplification, caused an oversurge. He may have endangered the mother, but you ensured she would die from it, and yes, indeed, by zooming in, we know that's true. Your motive, meanwhile, that I'm pretty confident about, you were envious of your brother. So yes, put that in play. We have now got 3 golden Triforces lined up, the Triforce of Justice. So I'm going to accuse you, my good man, because I think we've got a working story here.
Confess, Reuben. Tell us what the daemon made you do.
He's looking all angry and demony, so let's have a little pokey inside his head, and I'm guessing, we got it verified, he was possessed.
Demonic corruption runs deep within Reuben's soul, yet Reuben may still be saved. I must speak the daemon's true name. Then the daemon will be cast out.
Oh, it was the envious one. It was definitely the envious one. I know that, that's fine. So yes, Lotan the Envious, 100%.
Magnificently done, Madam Exorcist.
The power of Ein Sof compels you, Lotan. Leave this soul and return to the ether.
Thousands of years, and you humans never change.
I like him. He's very cool and triangle-y. Okay, so is Reuben, like, morally responsible for what happened or not?
Think.
Sounds like not, to be honest.
The daemon was difficult to cleanse. Reuben is returned to pure innocence.
Oh, I'm guessing that means he ain't okay.
What? The exorcism shattered his mind? Can you bring him back?
It's out of my hands. If Ein Sof wills it, maybe Reuben will heal.
Right, possession, bad for people, got it. And unfortunately Mother Miriam's body was not properly destroyed because, yes, somebody wants to give her a proper burial, meaning I was immediately summoned to the graveyard, so, okay, I'm guessing a bad thing happened. Okay, so, we got ourselves another murder. In particular, someone ended up dead in the grave that was supposed to be for Mother Miriam. So, alright, let's examine the victim. So, victim's body. Good starting point. The apprentice's face is serene above a cleanly slit throat with no bruising. However, an angry scar runs across his stomach. Okay, interesting. And now, yeah, we've learnt about the victim's body. We've also got, yep, some information there. So, okay, check the area immediately around the body. Surgical multi-tool. Now, that would logically be, you know, the murder weapon. That would actually check out right there. So, found on the staircase between, the location is important. An ether-powered tool for making incisions, applying preservatives, and closing wounds. Okay, so it can make incisions. Gotcha, and, closing wounds. In theory, could something be hidden inside his stomach? Is that a possibility, perchance? And can we actually, go inside here? Yes, we can. Right, there's a great big bunch of stuff here, and, hang on. Just come back for a second. There's footprints. Now, that's pretty bloody important right there. So, give that a look-see. So, found on the floor, still wet, leads from the back exit to the embalming table. So, I mean, that makes sense, because that's the way you'd logically go if you were looking to dump somebody in the grave. But the question is, why dump them in this particular grave? And, this will be the shovel used to, you know, dig up the body. So, found hanging in the back area, heavy, bulky, caked with dirt, fair enough. Now, as for the body itself, yeah, this will be Mother Miriam, presumably, right? Yes, indeed, embalmed body, that's Mother Miriam. Large incision on the stomach, judging from uneven colouring and chemical scent, appears to be partially embalmed. Gotcha. So that checks out. And is that some, flowers? Bouquet of flowers just on the ground. So, why are they on the floor and, you know, not on a grave? Now, what have we got here? I'm guessing you are suspect number 1, Narissa. Check your workstation. So, graveyard schedule. 2 entries, both authorised by Abbot Gregory. The funeral at sundown, and Father Augustine, unrestricted access. Okay, Father Augustine could go wherever he wanted, probably of note. And you took out her liver for some reason. Still warm and moist, appears to be mangled in some way, perhaps smashed. But is that her liver or Isaac's outside? Right, check for more physical evidence before we, like, you know, go accusing anybody of anything. Because now, we got ourselves 3 suspects, and, hello over there, a sickle. Not exactly, you know, usual stuff to find in a graveyard. So, lightweight blade slices through the air to trim grass, So we don't have, like, you know, lawnmowers. So, okay, lawn maintenance, nothing too suspicious there. But on the other hand, could of course be a murder weapon. So we've got 2 potential sources of, you know, incisions. And what's up with this particular key headstone? Some noble's grave. So, okay, there isn't a blade of grass out of place. Well, there was a sickle right there. So, okay, not sure whether that's going to be relevant. It might just be, you know, a background detail. Not everything is going to be 100% relevant to this case. And ether scanner. Okay, what is one of them? So, records images and text. Again, not sure if important. And one more statue over here. That's the actual saint who the abbey's built for. So, fine. Might just be a bit of background detail. Not everything is always going to be, you know, 100% relevant. Do we have... Oh, there's something over there. there's a tiny thing over there. What's this? The devil's herb. I knew something nefarious is afoot. So, okay. That might just be a little Easter egg of some description. I don't know what finding that did. Right, as we know that somebody, you know, came out the back of here over to the grave, let's start with the person who, you know, works in here. You must be Narissa, the person who was handling the embalming.
Praise Ain Soph. You must be the famed exorcist. It is an honor, sister.
Okay, you're nice and respectful. I like you.
The whole afternoon, I prepared Mother Miriam's body for burial. There isn't much else to tell.
Okay, so she claims her story is very boring. So, okay, let's see what's going on and who she spoke to. Because we got ourselves, yeah, her, the doctor, then we've also got, yeah, the gravekeeper and some person from the abbey. So, alright, Narissa, take it away.
Early this afternoon, I informed Abraham of the funeral scheduled for this evening.
Okay, nothing too dramatic there. You're speaking to Abraham, who I believe is the grave tender. So he probably would be the person who, yeah, took the shovel and went to dig the grave. The grave at this point might not have been dug, but in which case, why did the footprints go all the way over here? Alright, he had no reason to come over here and be interfering with, you know, organs.
Once Abraham left, I started preparing the body for burial. I was alone the entire time. No one came by.
You say this, but people don't seem to be able to hear things particularly well. She's facing in this direction. Potentially, when she turns back around, are there going to be footprints on the ground? Alright, so once she's done with that...
Mid-afternoon, Abraham barged into the mortuary, bellowing that the grave is now ready. I sent him away to focus.
Okay, so at that point, he comes back in, so he is digging the grave, probably with the shovel that is not there right now during this point of history.
After Abraham's disturbance, I completed the embalming to the best of my humble abilities.
But what's that? The sickle. Okay, so this is where he keeps his tools, and we know where the sickle ended up. So you then just get on once again, so your starting testimony is very, very dark. You're just like, you know, shoving preservatives in there or something.
Just after dark, I heard a scream from the back field. A dead body was found.
Alright, you run straight out at that point, and... okay, so she claims she was the last person to the grave. Well, actually, joint last. Joint last right there. Whoever the guy is, yes, that's Abraham. So, the other guy, the Abbey guy, he was the first person on the scene. Got it. So, okay. We got ourselves a starting timeline. Her story is pretty simple, but let's ask a few questions, see if there's anything, you know, interesting going on here. And there we go, that's his name. So, Father Augustine, he's the third person. He was already there. Abraham was running from the front field. That broadly checks out, because we know he took the scythe with him, so he was probably at that grave, like, you know, tending the grass. So, that broadly checks out with where I'd expect him to be. Also, something worth noting here, the flowers on the ground. So the first time we see her, the flowers are... okay, the flowers move from the table between here and here. The only person who really could have done that would be Abraham, unless of course someone else came in the back door in the meantime. So we don't really have too much to like throw in her face, to be perfectly honest. So I mean, okay, did she see, yes, the muddy footprints? I don't know if we can actually toss those at her. Probably not, to be honest. No, she doesn't say the muddy footprints contradicts what she says, which is fair enough. I don't know that they necessarily appeared at that exact moment. And to be honest, like, you know, a small omission like that is not really a lie or a contradiction. It's just, you know, something she didn't specifically mention. Meanwhile, if I just ask her about them, she does acknowledge they exist, but doesn't consider it particularly noteworthy. Now, what about that surgical multi-tool? Because logically, that'd be yours, right? So I'm truly grateful. Where did you find this? Lying in the grass near the rear staircase. Impossible unless somebody had stolen it. Surely Abraham couldn't do such a thing. Okay, hang on. Do we actually see the tool at any point previously? We know what it looks like. He was holding the scythe there. I don't see the tool anywhere. And just zoom in. It's... hang on, is that at the bottom of the table, or does she have like a fake leg or something? I don't think that's the tool right there. And if it is... hang on, there it is. There's the tool. So it was already on the ground then. I don't see it anywhere else, and it wasn't on the desk at the start of her testimony, was it? No, it was not. So whatever's going on here, yeah, unfortunately, we don't know where that tool started unless it had already been stolen before her story begins. So, okay, leave her for now. We've got a good starting point. Let's go over to Abraham, because, yes, Abraham's story is the one that most overlaps with hers, so we'll be better able to spot contradictions. Okay, Abraham, let's get your version of events. So, you start off, yeah, out here, while, yeah, Narissa is working inside.
I spent the early afternoon tending to the bushes by the mortuary.
Okay, so nothing too dramatic there. He's just, you know, doing his job. Now, who do you see over there? Hang on. Who's that over there? Is that the other guy, Father Augustine? It might be, or it might be someone you don't recognize. So, yep, then you go inside. Now, at that point, yeah, Narissa said you were making a whole bunch of noise and she told you to naff off.
When I headed back to the mortuary, Narissa told me there was nothing else special to do for the day. So I left her to her work.
Now, is it a contradiction that she says she, like, yelled at you? Yeah, she sent me away. She does that when she wants to focus on her work. So, not really a contradiction, to be honest, just a different way of telling the same story. So, alright, at that point, you take the scythe and presumably head towards the front, right?
I walked through the mortuary, then headed downhill towards the benches.
Okay, hang on. Hang on. Well, she said towards the front. I didn't think she mentioned him going this way. I thought she said, hang on, can we just go back over to her testimony for a second here? Just to, you know, check how the version of events goes from her version. So, she tells him, and then she... okay. According to her, he went out the back way, but... did she actually know that, or is that, yeah, does this coloration mean that is an assumption I made based on the, you know, available evidence? Okay. Hang on, I sent him away to focus. Can I contradict you by pointing out this, or does that not count as a contradiction? No, it's not a contradiction. There's not enough solid evidence there. Okay, so Abraham's now walking through here. That does not contradict her. He just walked behind her. She didn't realise. So, you know, head over here, have a rest.
I spent the remainder of the afternoon resting on a bench.
Okay, a little suspicious you just, like, you know, spent all the time sitting there for no reason. And there's person number 3, who just sort of passes in front of you at some point from down in the bottom. So this guy is supposed to be down over here during the rest on bench segment. And at that point, you rush to the grave.
Suddenly, I heard someone call for help from the back field. I ran over, surprised to see a dead body in the grave.
Now, okay, the version of events here is a little bit off because... he claims that he arrived, then there was a gap before she arrived. But actually they arrived much close together in her testimony. But it's a very small inconsistency that we can just chalk up to, you know, people not necessarily remembering things that well. So, not really the biggest thing in the world. Now, okay, let's speak to him about a few bits and pieces. The muddy footprints, were they yours? These can't be my footprints. It's true I went in after working outside, but that was before the rain. Okay, what about the tools? Because, yes, presumably, the shovel. So that's my shovel, built to last, good workmanship. Usually leave it inside when I'm not using it, fair enough. Now, do you recognise the tool? That's definitely Narissa's, I've seen her using it at the table. Yep, that checks out, nothing particularly much going on there. And the sickle, we saw you pick this up and use it. So, grass grows like weeds, I use that to keep everything neat and tidy, the way a graveyard should be. Fair enough, story checks out. Ah, now we're starting to learn a bit about Abraham. So the reason he keeps that particular grave so nice is because that's actually his ancestors. He's descended from nobility, but he's not noble anymore. So let's just ask these guys about, yeah, all the incidental details in case there happens to be anything buried away. So, apparently, Narissa makes these bouquets, which is why one was inside her office. So, yeah, visitors use them as offerings. So she actually makes the offerings to give to visitors. Aha! So speak to Narissa about the liver. Yeah, it seems deformed. I must have mishandled it. Strange thing for, an experienced person like you to have done. Now, she claims it's because she was distracted because of the murder earlier, so that could be the case, I suppose. And here we go. Can you do an autopsy on this body? In particular, what's going on with the stomach? So, yes, I know that he died from the throat, but I want to know what's going on with the stomach. And here we go. Let's reopen it, see what lies within. So, okay, good. Asking after everything, it can lead to new clues. And we have found another liver. Okay, so this is something different to what we've seen before. We've now got 2 separate livers. Why do I get the feeling there's something going on with you and that double liver? So, ask about this, detached from the rest of the organs, drained of blood, covered in chemicals. Okay, an embalmed liver, you can tell by the patchy colouring. That suggests somebody has swapped the livers. But why? I mean, in theory, Abraham could have done that. He could have used his sickle or the tool to hack open the body, swap the liver for some reason, then use the tool to seal the wound again. But what's the point? Okay, we've got a pretty good view of what's going on here, and we know where you're supposed to be at one point. So, Father, let's have a chat to you. Okay, my friend, let's see what you've got going on here.
I arrived at the graveyard with Isaac for Mother Miriam's funeral. Isaac headed to the mortuary on a minor errand.
Okay, so at this point, Isaac, of course, is alive, and this is a pretty big deal because, according to Narissa, nobody came in. So, okay, he's just chilling out right there. You, meanwhile, yeah, that's the last time you saw him.
Then I passed through the graveyard until I saw the statue of Saint Walpurga. What craftsmanship, and so well maintained.
Okay, checks out. We know for a fact that, yeah, when we asked Abraham about the statue, he said that he takes good care of it. And the last time you saw Isaac alive... Oh. Hello there. Can't help but notice that Narissa appears to have stepped outside right there. That's a bit of an interesting thing. And is that... Hang on. Can we... I can't move the camera, so I can't zoom in, but... Is she holding the tool there? Because Narissa's got a few holes in her story all of a sudden. So, what happened next, my friend?
For most of the afternoon, I was walking through the graveyard, merely observing and admiring.
Okay, so if you end up going down in this direction, yep, that checks out, because when Abraham's resting on a bench, you're supposed to walk from down over here over in this direction. So, yep, that all seems to stack up perfectly well. So in a moment, you come back up, except... Hang on. You're supposed to have passed by much earlier than this. Like, maybe round about here-ish, you're supposed to have walked past him. And apparently you never saw Abraham either.
At sunset, I wandered to the back area to meet with Isaac. I was surprised to find an open grave with something inside.
Okay, so we can confirm everybody agrees he was the first person on the scene.
I was horrified to discover that it was Isaac's dead body. That's when I called for help.
Okay, and according to his version of events, yeah, Abraham and Narissa arrived simultaneously. That matches up with what Narissa said. Abraham's version of events, he shows up, yeah, a little bit off that. But, okay, we've got a few bits and pieces to start with here, but first, let's just ask him about all of the bits of evidence. Ah, now here's something. So, yeah, Father Augustine said he asked Isaac to fetch him a bouquet, and we know that Narissa makes the bouquets. Now, all of a sudden, we've potentially got something here. Say Isaac goes up to Narissa, says, hey, can I have a bouquet? She says right over there. He walks over to the desk, picks up the bouquet. That's the point where she slices his throat. Alright, he drops the bouquet. That's how he ends up on the ground. But if he died there, problem, what happens to all the blood? You've got, like, no time to sort out the blood, unless, of course, that's why Narissa yells at Abraham to get out. because there's a giant pool of blood on the ground she's not done cleaning up yet. Okay, Narissa is now my prime suspect for all sorts of reasons. We got a lot we need to toss in her face. And we have an answer to that weird scanner thing we saw on one of the graves. It was his. So, hang on. Let's just nip back in time here. Just make sure we can verify that. So, well, according to him, it was already present when he walked down here. So, why is your scanner already, you know, present? That's a bit on the weird side. Ah, hang on, here we go. He's holding it right now. So, yep, then he makes some notes. Then he comes over here, so he's still holding it at this point. Still holding it, and then it disappears. Okay, so he's omitted something. What's going on here precisely? Here we go. Lie has been unmasked. I've confronted him with his own ether scanner. So, yes, when did you drop this precisely? And I found it placed in a gravestone. What were you doing? Nothing to do with Isaac's death. I'll be the judge of that. Tell me what's going on. I was using the scanner to recover a lost hymn for Abbot Gregory to use in tonight's mass. So, okay, last of it is on the gravestones. Broadly, that checks out, but we have now got a much better detail. Yes, there we flippin' go. So, okay, let's revisit this. He comes over here. He puts this down right over here on the tomb. Lovely. Then he leaves it to do its job. And then, aha, now we've got some more detail.
Then I saw a stranger pass by. He was tall, barrel-chested. I think he was the groundskeeper.
Okay, but. Key problem we've got here, according to, yes, Augustine here, he was approaching from this gate. According to his own testimony, at this point, he should be up top, walking through the office to get out the front door. So, okay, we've got a bit of a problem there.
Afterwards, I waited by the grave for my scanner to complete its task. It was taking longer than I expected, so I had to leave it.
Okay, so you just, hang out right there, leave your scanner to do its business.
When the sun was setting, I wandered to the back area to meet with Isaac and begin the funeral.
And then everything went as we already know.
At sunset, I wandered to the back area to meet with Isaac. I was surprised to find an open grave with something inside.
And then you realised it was Isaac, same as we've seen before. Gotcha. And now we understand the plan, why you asked him to get the bouquet. That grave was where the funeral was supposed to be, so he went and got the bouquet for that. But we're also learning about you. So we're just breaking down your defences right now, learning about you step by step. So, disappointment. Okay, disappointment in who precisely? Aha, unimpressed by Isaac's recent research. Let's ask about that. So he could have been a scholar if he was more disciplined and rigorous. Okay, he was partly wasting his gift. Gotcha. And here we go. You're certain Abraham came from the rear field, not coming out? Yes, indeed. Okay, we've got something we can toss at Abraham. Alright, time to start doing a bit of backwards and forwards here. So, Abraham, my friend, back over to you, because you are a liar, sir. So, contradict with observing Abraham. So, yeah, present that to him. And a lie has been caught. Now, why would you lie about that? You didn't walk through the office at all. Instead, you went out back close by to the grave. Why did you lie about that? And fine, I did go that way. People always blame me for things I didn't do. I didn't think you'd believe me. I'm sorry. Okay, let's get a nice updated version of events. So, what was in the grave when you passed by it? So, I want a new version of events off you. No body, no blood, nothing. So he says anyway. So, here we go. He gets himself dismissed, but actually, he goes out the back. So, we now all agree on that business, but before we go any further, yeah, now we've started getting into the lies. Let's figure out what's going on with you, my friend. And, aha, this is related to your family, isn't it? The fact that your family is all a bit, fallen from grace. And here we go. The church decided Sergius, my great-uncle, was a heretic, which I suppose he was. Interesting. Sergius was a name that was just mentioned. Augustine mentioned that. That's what he was scanning, the grave of Sergius. Hang on, we'll get back to you in just a second. Let's just make absolutely sure. Yes, the grave of Sergius. Okay, this could be a motive right here. So the thing you were looking for was, yes, the lost hymn of communion, which was apparently buried with Sergius. Now, we know for a fact that Abraham's a bit, protective of the family legacy. If you were trying to, have something some way or another out of the grave of one of his family members, well, he wouldn't be too thrilled about that. Okay, back over to Abraham here. So he admits he walked by the grave, says there was nothing in it. Then he passes between the walls where he is observed. So all of a sudden, yes indeed, everything's fine. But then he sits down where we already knew he was supposed to be. He sees, yes, this guy passing by at the same time as he's heading towards the rear. So all of a sudden, the stories start adding up. And backing up my story, he confirms he couldn't see what was going on in the front. So if something happened to Isaac at this moment, he wouldn't have known about it. So now that we know that Abraham passed this way, if we can take that as the truth and it does stack up with everything else we know, that means we can be pretty confident that, yeah, what happens is Isaac walks in over here, gets himself killed inside, and then gets dragged this way down to the grave. Which broadly means, as Abraham and Augustine kind of back up each other's stories, it pretty much has to be Narissa. Okay, time for the big thing here. Narissa, we need to start picking apart your lies and learning about your psychological profile, because, yes indeed, arrive for the funeral 100% contradicts that, because we know Isaac came through this door, assuming we can trust Augustine. So, here we go. A lie has been unmasked. So, alright, what actually happened, Narissa? Very well, there's no use hiding it. Please know nothing untoward happened. Well, in that case, why did you flipping lie? So, the victim stopped by for a moment, presumably looking for, a bouquet. Yes, indeed, it was the bouquet. Right, give me a new version of events if you'd be so kind.
Early this afternoon, I informed Abraham of the funeral scheduled for this evening.
So everything starts the same way. Abraham wanders off, at which point Isaac comes in.
The truth is that the apprentice did come by. He asked for a bouquet for the funeral later that day.
Alright, perfectly reasonable. And if we zoom in now, this is the point where you're holding the tool. But okay, let's also just get a bit of psychological profile going on here, just because that might be very, very useful indeed. A famine survivor. I've no idea how I know that, but apparently I do. So, okay, fascinating. And I couldn't have persevered through those days. I'm grateful to the kind souls. Okay, fascinating. Not sure if that's necessarily that relevant, but, okay. Yes, the bouquet.
When I showed him the bouquet, he held it for a moment and then threw it on the floor. I suppose it wasn't to his master's tastes. I forgot to pick it back up.
Doesn't seem that likely.
Then the boy asked to be taken to the rear fields before the funeral, so I led him out the back exit.
Okay, interesting. And then at that point, ooh, hang on. Hang on. If he goes out the back door at that exact moment, then, yeah, then you get into Abraham. Okay, hang on. Abraham therefore should have passed by Isaac. So, alright, back over to Abraham here. We need to figure out where you were at various times. So, when did you go in here? Because, take Isaac to the exit. You should have passed him by. Contradict, take Isaac to exit. And, not sure how that proves me wrong. Okay, well, you should have seen him, right? No, I didn't see anyone coming out of the back exit. Okay, he's saying that's not true. Which does rather feel like, yes, there is now a conflict. So, I'm guessing he didn't actually go out the back exit. Not at that point because, he's kind of dead. Ah, but here's something. So, okay, informed Abraham of the funeral scheduled for the evening. And I don't think he had time to tend bushes today at all. I asked him to dig the grave. But he didn't dig the grave at all. The grave was already dug. Oh, hang on, it goes much deeper than this. Okay, Abraham says at the start of the day he was actually tending bushes. Whereas Narissa says she was actually speaking to him at the time. Okay, can anyone actually be called out on this? There we go. We've got a lie. So, who was lying? So Narissa asked you to dig the grave. Yep, here we go. That's true, normal part of the job. Shouldn't have lied about it, I know. Okay, at what point did you think the grave digger was going to get away with pretending they didn't dig the grave? So, oh wow, okay, we've got a lot more detail out of him and a lot more psychological profile too. So, give me some more detail here. Need more and more to learn. So, integrity. Okay, tell me what that means precisely. Like, are you just particularly trustworthy? I'm an honest person. You've been caught lying twice! Right, let's get the actual version of events here.
Narissa told me there'd be an urgent funeral in the evening. I'm not usually told who it's for.
Alright, so then you go out the back way. This is starting to all stack up a bit.
So I picked up the shovel and went down to the rear plot to dig a new grave.
Okay, fair enough. So, shovel, we knew about that.
The ground was hard. Took me some time to dig that hole.
Alright, not that long to be honest, but whatever.
I took a long break while digging. It's within my rights. There wasn't anyone else around, so it was nice and peaceful.
Okay, so now potentially, if Isaac did exit, you should have seen it.
Then I got back to it and finished digging the grave.
Alright, and finally...
When the grave was ready, I walked back to the mortuary to let Narissa know.
And then we agree she yelled at you. Yep, lovely. Delicate procedure, I left the way I came in. So, you should have seen Isaac leaving. Hang on. We need to ask about this. I didn't see anybody coming from the back exits. Okay, is that a contradiction at the moment? Okay, a conflict has been revealed. This isn't a contradiction because, yeah, actually, no one's going to admit the truth. They're just going to both start lying. On my family's honour, I swear I saw nobody while digging the grave. So, yeah, it's Narissa. I'm very concerned about Narissa here. Okay, Narissa, we need to have a chat about this. And yep, conflict part 2 has been revealed. So I don't know why Abraham would lie, but the victim left through that door. I swear, I saw it myself. So, we now have a conflict in play. Afterwards, everything starts making sense again. But the problem is, if she's telling the truth, then... Well, okay, if she's telling the truth, that probably means that Abraham was the one that did it. So either Abraham did it outside, or Narissa did it inside and dragged the body over while Abraham was having his rest and Augustine was scanning the grave. Okay, let's go over to the demon book here. So, who might have been responsible? Because that might give us some ideas. So, okay, Lucifer the Proud, the Gluttonous, so feral beast consumes stranger and filthier things. Okay, that doesn't seem desperately likely. The Vengeful. Now, Abraham, yeah, there could be some vengeance going on here, where he wanted to get revenge on, you know, those who had done bad things to his family. So, possible anyway. Also, let's just have a little look-see at what's going on here, because we now know the tool. Let's zoom right in and keep an eye on the tool. When did the tool disappear? So, she still says she's holding the tool right now. And then, hang on. Where does it disappear from your hand? Is it about here? Because if so, yes, it's when you went back over to the body after taking Isaac to the exit. But in which case... Okay, hang on. How did your tool end up outside? And, thank you for finding it, had difficulty finishing the embalming without it. I'm gonna be honest, this was supposed to be more of a gotcha and less of a hey, you dropped this. Okay, as for the embalming, can we actually, you know, toss the livers at her in any way? Because it feels like, yes, the liver she prepared ended up outside. So, don't that contradicts what I said. Fair enough, it didn't really. That was a bit of a stretch. Okay, meanwhile, going back to Augustine, yeah, he actually says it's strange that he would have left the bouquet, and that does seem odd, to be honest, yes. And of course, he also says it's beautiful. So that doesn't sound like the bouquet would be not good enough for him. Actually, he really liked it. Okay, let's get back to the real world in the present, because right now we've just been skipping between testimony. The big thing we've got here is the footprints. So, already recorded in notes. So, okay, still wet. Back exit to the embalming table. But not specifically to the table, instead, yeah, to the liver. So, bloody liver, but that's like been hacked apart. Meanwhile, for some reason, the embalmed liver was, you know, put down over here with our pal. And yeah, the mud would be less obvious out here because it's been washed away. So, there's the tool right there as well. Because we've got to bear in mind the weather. So, aha. Okay, when did it start raining? What we've got here is the rain starts at... Hang on, where is it? This point right here. Okay, it's not raining before here. So, at the point when it starts resting on a bench, when it becomes night and the lights go on, that's when it starts raining. So the footprints must come after this point, because they're muddy footprints. So, at what point could those have been made? Because Abraham and Narissa, they sort of, yeah, they see each other right here. But then, hang on. At this point, Abraham passes between the walls, he rests on the bench. Augustine, meanwhile, he's waiting for the scanner. So, those two are now seeing each other. Now, you get over here, you don't have time, by which I mean Augustine doesn't have time, to, yeah, get in there and create the footprints. So, there is simply not enough time for anyone other than Narissa to have made the footprints. Can we contradict you with those footprints? And, don't think that contradicts what I said. No, it doesn't specifically, but you are the only person who could have made them, unless Abraham's lying, and yeah, Augustine did not have a good view of him. Oh, hang on. I was just presenting her with the livers. Yes, okay, so we figured out how to present the livers. So, this liver is still bloody. Right, so how can you claim it's ready for burial? Here we go. Couldn't finish the burial preparations in time because I misplaced my surgical tool. So, okay, search for it, couldn't find it anywhere. Here we go. Alright, we got more information from you. And this here, this is going to provide some very useful information. So, yeah, you were a famine survivor and also... I mean, I enjoy a beef burger too. Like, this is not a big deal. Perhaps I enjoy meat too much. Oh, she's a cannibal. Oh, okay. It's the glutton demon. She's turned her into a cannibal. Right, give me the new information if you'd be so kind. So, yes, after you sent away Abraham, that's the point where your tool was missing. Okay, so you went wandering around looking for it, but then you gave up, which is why, yes, the livers are a bit of a mess.
I did what I could without making new incisions, but that made things slower and messier. I'm not pleased with the results.
Okay, so that's why, yes, the thing was as it was. So, the bloody liver, so found on the table, that's why that's all bloody. But again, how did the strange liver end up, you know, inside the body? That doesn't check out unless... Hang on, is this some sort of, like, replacement? Because if you replace one liver with another, that would give you a spare liver that you could eat. So, I mean, possibly, yeah, she's lying. She's lying because she ate the bloody liver, but, like, if she ate the bloody liver, then surely she wouldn't want to have put another liver into that guy. She instead would have wanted to, unless this is that guy's liver, and she... Wait, why would she... Hang on, no, this doesn't make any sense. Okay, I cannot prove exactly what was done, but I think I've got enough evidence to, you know, make a bit of a guess. So, the opportunity. You were taking Isaac to the exit. So, yes, indeed, that was the point where you were alone, and then there was a period where, yeah, you could have, like, you know, done some bad stuff to his body. So, he came by, he left shortly afterwards. So if he died, why was his body found in the grave? Well, you got rid of it later, that's fine. So that's okay. Now, the means. The means is interesting because, I mean, I assume it would be the surgical tool. That would be the logical way you'd have killed him. Yes, how could I have done it? Do you see a weapon anywhere? Yes, I do. Your surgical multi-tool would have done everything just fine. And indeed, it's consistent with sealing the wound on the victim's stomach. But this is not 100% yet. As for motive, yes, you wanted to, like, eat his liver. Because, yes, not exactly, okay, this is all a bit weird. I admit I enjoy meat, but, I definitely don't eat people. Why would I kill someone? I can buy what I want from the butcher. I never met the victim before today. Okay, that's not good enough, apparently. Okay, we need to dig into her a bit more before we can just say, you're a cannibal. Oh, we've got another lie. Aha, I just went around asking everyone about their muddy footprints, and Narissa's the one who's got something to say there. So somebody left, then returned during the rain. So, okay, this might explain what's going on, because, yeah, Abraham and Augustine are both outside. They account for each other as soon as it starts raining. Narissa, though, she is the only person alone during the rain, so the footprints must be hers. She stepped outside briefly to search for the multi-tool, so okay, that's a better opportunity. Let's just get even more. So okay, this might be what we need. And any chance you're a cannibal, actually? Yeah, thought so. It's a terrible tendency, but it's harmless. Harmless, she says. The woman who works with human bodies. Okay, I'm still thinking it's gotta be Narissa here, but the problem is we need a two-part, opportunity, because there's the point where he was killed, which is probably take Isaac to the exit, but then there's the point where he was actually taken down to the grave, which has to have followed after dismissing Abraham. Abraham goes this way, so therefore it has to come after this point. Look for multi-tool or thereafter. The point where she stepped outside might have been the point where she dragged the body down to the gravestone. And there we go. Okay, we've got it. We've got it right there. So you drag the victim's body to the grave, hoping to bury it before anyone arrived. It's a two-step opportunity. An opportunity to actually kill the guy, and an opportunity to move him afterwards. So, come on. Let's get the glutton demon out of you, please.
Curse you, and curse Saint Soph. How can the eye see all? Does it see my suffering?
Okay, in many ways, we should have spotted the blood around her mouth earlier. Alright, Narissa, time to find us a demon, and I'm pretty sure it's gotta be the gluttony one, right?
What daemon has possessed Narissa?
Yeah, it's gotta be the gluttony one, so it was probably you. Right, Beelzebub, off you pop. Oh, I like Beelzebub, he's cute. And would you believe that everyone decided to ignore me, warning them, there was going to be more killings, and as a result, there's been another flipping killing. So, okay, more and more complex cases coming up, I see. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I think you get the point. This here is Lucifer Within Us, and, ooh, I like this. 99% of the time, when a game says, oh, there's a detective bit of this game, you're a detective, it's not really detecting. You just walk around a room, look at 3 things, and the game tells you the answer. No, this is a proper detective game, with like deduction and induction. It's beautiful. There's actual proper logic and reasoning and whatnot. Admittedly, the exact knowledge of, contradicting and what contradiction means can be a little bit adventure game logic, because sometimes it's unclear what you should or shouldn't show to people to get a rise out of them, but there's a lot I like here. This is really, really damn good stuff. So, link in the description below. Well worth a look-see, I'd say. This is good stuff. I can be tempted to wrap up the rest of this because, as I understand it, this is not the longest game in the world, but well worth experiencing for yourself. I would say there's probably more than I found, and some more complex stuff coming up too. I'm sure the next case is even more maze-like than the ones we've already seen. So, may well be worth a look-see, and may well give this one a bit of a look-see myself going forward. We shall see. But in the meantime, I've been John. This has been Many a True Nerd, and this has been Lucifer Within Us. Thank you very much, and goodbye. No, sadly, I cannot be the Santa Claus of murder tonight. So apparently, even though this thing is... Oh, no, you can't. No, you most certainly can't. Okay. Is that the symbol meaning I'm about to pull her over? Yep, there we are. Oh! I feel like she didn't necessarily survive that. No, she's very dead.